Okay friends, one of the first things we have to do to get started is to remove our door panel. To do that, we're going to remove our mounting bolts. You're going to find two behind the door handle right along here, and then one down in this corner right here. Remove all of them. Now we can grab onto this black unit here and we're going to carefully pull it away from the door panel. Looking at the back, you can see that it has a couple little pitons there that are supposed to clip in. Let's go ahead and remove the wiring harnesses now. There we are. Every time you remove an electrical connector, take a peek at it. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it needs to be dealt with. This one looks good, so let's do the same to the rest. For this one right here, you're going to find a couple Phillips head screws. There's one located on this corner right here. And then over here, there should be one as well. Ours is missing. Once you have both of your screws out, there should be some tabs located along the sides. This one right here is a little broken, and then you should be able to draw this up and out. Now to remove this last one, I'm going to take my pocket screwdriver and I'm going to try to get underneath this lip right here. You can see that it has a couple little pitons, and those are holding it in. Gently pry that away, and then I'm going to try to pull this up and out. Okay, I got those back ones. There we go. Okay, now this thing has little clips on all four corners here, as you can tell. So getting to the back ones, it's easiest with a pick. Let's get this right out of the way. Now we can access our last mounting bolt here. Go ahead and grab onto the door panel, carefully lift it up. As we lift up, we're going to slowly pull it away. Now with the door panel out of the way, it exposes the weather barrier. We're just going to carefully grab onto this and remove it from the door. Be very careful not to damage it because we are going to reuse it. Bring the window down so we can access the rivets. So now the next thing that you're going to notice is, of course, having the rivets on here, we're going to have to get those off. And that's not just something that you can unbolt. You have to actually drill out the center of this or even just kind of cut off the head and then pound it out. It's not something that's reusable, so you're going to need a tool that looks like this and, of course, some brand new rivets. Otherwise, if you don't have those tools, you can just use a nut and a bolt. And, of course, you want to make sure you have the right hardware overall, so you want to have some washers along the way as well. So as you can tell, using the drill bit is going to be pretty inefficient, especially if you have rivets that look like this. I'm just going to use my cutting wheel very carefully, and I'm just going to try to cut off the head of this rivet, but of course I don't want to damage the regulator in any way, or this cable right here. I'm just going to go ahead and get the cable right out of the way. There should be a clip that's located right here. Ours is kind of just hanging out, but essentially just squeeze it, you can pop it right off of there, and then you can slide this out of the way. So now at this point, the next thing I want to do is carefully try to punch out the center aspect here. Let's get the rest of this out of here. There's that one. Do the same to the other. Now with both of those fittings out of there, the next thing we're going to do is carefully grab the glass and we're going to bring it right up as far as we can. We're going to use some tape and we're going to try to hold it up. We want to make sure we're as safe as possible. We definitely want to make sure that the glass can't come down on its own. Now with the window fully taped and we know we're safe as can be, we're going to move along to removing this rod right along here. You're going to find two mounting points, one right up top, an 11mm nut, and then followed all the way to the bottom, there's another 11. Let's remove the pair. Now let's move along to removing these four rivets as well. Now let's unclip the wiring here. that right in there. Okay, now at this point we can carefully grab onto this and remove it from the door. Get this first part out of here. Set that aside. There it is, friends. Okay, now that that's out of there, let's make sure we get out any of the debris that we knocked into there. Oh, geez. All down along the bottom as well. Make sure you get everything. Okay, friends, now it's time to put in our brand new window regulator. Firstly, what we want to do is make sure if we're using the bolts, we start those in there. I like to come from the back side, and I'll just go ahead and put them right through. I'm going to hold them with my fingers and then line them up with their bolt holes inside the door. There's one right there. Go ahead and start that in. Okay, that's just to hold it for now. Let's get the rest of them lined up. Now, if you are going to be using nuts and bolts like what I have here, obviously you'd want to make sure that you use a washer. For me personally, I'm just going to kind of leave this just like this to hold it where it is. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them with rivets. I'll get this out of the way and then do a rivet there as well. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do the same to the others. Before we go ahead and put this in, let's make sure that we clean out the channel where the rest of the regulator is going to ride. Just apply a thin amount of lubricant inside of it again. Now let's get the rest of this in there. Just going to bring it in. We'll start this in here. Okay. Now we're going to take this rod, spin it, and we're going to line it up with the top and the bottom holes. There we are. Let's start the nut on there. Okay, now let's go up top. We'll start the nut on here as well. Now let's tighten both of those up. Now that we have everything mounted, the next thing that I want to do is get the window mounted to the regulator. To do that, obviously we have to take off all of our tape and then slowly lower this down. Just be very careful. If it comes slamming down, well, you can imagine what might happen. Line up your holes. Once you have them both lined up, grab some mounting hardware. You can either use some rivets or some bolts, whatever works best for you. Now, assuming you're using bolts like I am here, we're going to, of course, want to make sure that we tighten these up. But be careful not to damage the glass in any way. Make sure that's nice and tight. Do the same to the other one. So now we have everything fully mounted here. Let's go ahead and connect in the window regulator. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to do is put the key in the on position, and we're just going to test the function of the window. Make sure it goes all the way up smoothly and all the way back down. Now let's grab onto our wiring, bring it right up and through here. And now we'll start hanging up our vapor barrier. It's going to be time to get the door panel back on. Looking at the back of it, you're going to be able to see that it has a whole bunch of little hooky-doos. You want to make sure that you have this lined up with all the spots on the door itself where they're supposed to go. So we're just going to come over, bring it nice and high up over the top. We're going to line up the lock here, get that into the hole. Once we have it lined up, let's slide it down. Now let's start screwing this in. Now we're going to get this in. You're going to find some connectors. We want to, of course, connect these right in. Listen for a click. There we are. Give it a nice little wiggle. We'll do this one now. Make sure you have it facing in the right direction. Obviously, you don't want that auto symbol facing in the wrong direction. Press it right in. Now at this point, there should be 2 screws right along here. Go ahead and put the pair of those in. Now we're going to take this and line it up. What I mean by that is you're going to have a couple little push clips along the top area here, and they need to go into these areas here. After that, we'll put in our 2 screws that mount right there. We're just going to double check along the door, make sure that it's sitting perfectly all the way around.